So my mom died in Hurricane Katrina. She drowned. But myself, my siblings, my cousins, everyone else that was in the house survived. So I'm going to tell my story as a Hurricane Katrina survivor from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And y'all bear with me because this is like my second time fully really telling the story, but my first time publicly speaking on it. So we're going to get through it. All right, y'all. So being from Mississippi, we have like protocols and things on what to do during storms. And when Hurricane Katrina hit, we had already had two storms back to back right before Katrina. And those storms didn't do much damage. The news will always report, oh, this is going to be a big one. It's going to devastate things. And it didn't do any damage. Mind you, I lived in a 2-story home. So I'm 11 at the time. So my mom figured that it would be safe for us to stay in the house for Hurricane Katrina because it's a 2-story home. I mean, I think that's probably safer, considering past circumstances or whatever. So, needless to say, my mom invited my cousins over and her sister, and it was about 7 kids, 3 adults in the home. Hurricane Katrina started really silent. It was a different kind of silence because you really didn't know, you couldn't imagine what was going to happen. So, it's the regular thundering and raining, and then the flooding began. And we all rushed to the top floor, until the storm was over. And I remember my mom, put the clothes on her bed downstairs, because that's how we didn't think that, the water would be that high. Needless to say, I remember sitting on the stairs and I was counting as the water covered each step. And I was just praying to God that it would stop. We had 13 stairs, and I just prayed that, it'll stop at 13. And we all were upstairs. The entire neighborhood was covered with water, and the wind was so strong from the outside, and of course with the water, that the house was like swaying back and forth. So like we're standing up, but we're being swayed. We're surrounded by, the house is surrounded by water. With this being a 2-story home, it's like the tallest one in the neighborhood. I remember the look of defeat in my mom's eyes, and she was just staring out the window and just saying, we're going to die, because my mom couldn't swim. And I remember at 11 years old, I'm just contemplating and accepting death at this point, because there was no other way. Eventually my brother, the water filled the home, the entire home. And from there, my brother swam out of the house, out the window, to a tree. And that was our plan, is for everyone to swim out the house and get on the tree. The only thing is there was only one adult that could swim. So while on the tree waiting for everyone else to make it out, it was silent for felt like forever. So we decided to get on the roof. At the moment that we got on the roof is when we saw the rest of the family on the other side of the roof. And I remember looking for my mom. I'm like, where's my mom? Now mind you, we're outside while it's storming on the roof, and it's raining hard. The wind, I don't think I've ever felt nothing like that. So we're soaking wet and the wind is blowing. And it was just, honestly, I was happy to be out the house, but it's like, you get out of the house you just pretty much have to be in the storm until it's over. All right, so that's pretty much how we rode it out. I really can't remember how long. I remember falling asleep on the roof. All of us, the youngest one was 2 years old. She had on a pamper. So we just, slept on the roof during the storm until the water came down enough. And then from there, we went, to find help. So after the storm, seeing everybody from the community, we're walking around. We're just looking at everything that, is torn up. And it's just like our entire life just changed. At that time, I couldn't accept that my mom was dead because I didn't see it. And in my mind, I just always at that age, I always just felt like, maybe she, maybe she held onto a tree. She's out there. We got to find her. So Hurricane Katrina was August the 29th. And after that time, we were searching for her body. My mom's friends, family, they were getting together, just searching for it. My mom's funeral was held in October. That's how long it took, And the entire time, they found her body under the roof. So many layers to the story. But during that time after Hurricane Katrina, I had a hard time of dealing with, not only the death of my mom, dealing with experiencing something as traumatic as a hurricane. That's when I learned about trauma because, in our community, we don't feel like we're faced with trauma or that, we're affected by those things. We just get through it. I remember after Katrina, we stayed with my grandma. We were sleeping outside and, things like that. We just had to do what we had to do after Katrina. But I remember sleeping outside in my dad's truck. And I remember just I would have kind of nightmares or floods, floods and things. And I remember waking up and running, I was so messed up. And I never had the time to really deal with it. I never really spoke about it because I felt like no one cared. And not in the sense of, ones around me, my family. I just felt like the world didn't care. We just kept moving on with our life and we just picked up the pieces and rebuilt it, as we could. So when I see a lot of people from Mississippi speaking up, it's not a fact of comparing trauma. It's not that. I think that for the past 20 years, we've been, we just kind of rebuilt things ourselves. It's less about comparing trauma and it's more about rewriting history. So to, everyone that has been affected, sending a lot of blessings out because it's not something easy, whether you are in New Orleans or whether you are in Mississippi. To my Gulf Coast, to my Mississippi people, sending much love to you as well. There are a lot of people from my childhood that we have not seen ever again. Everyone just kind of went their separate ways. And, we suffered a lot from that. Just picking things up in your entire life being washed away. But as for me, I'm telling my story, my mom's story, because she will forever be a hero to me. For her, she didn't know how to swim, and her only goal was making sure that we made it out the house safely. So for years, I just felt guilty because, I wish she would have gotten helped first. So I gotta smile when I cry, but But my story, my mom's story, our story deserves to be heard. And I want more people to come out and finally speak about it.